Today we're going to get money advice for you from Spirit at the time you view this video. So we're going to do the book method of divination with this amazing book called Money Magic, and we'll also grab a card or two from this Money and Law of Attraction deck. And where I want to start is here with this book, Richer Living by Ernest Holmes. The book is actually arranged via date, and so I decided that I was going to go with the date of that. It is today, the time I'm recording this video, but whenever you find it, just take the advice, so to speak, as timeless. That's actually how I intend all of my readings to be. They are timeless, and whenever they find you is when they're meant to. So I am recording this on July 22nd, 2023. So we're going to go to July 22nd, but this is timeless advice for whenever you find this video. So we're starting here with Richer Living. Let's see what it has to say. I have illumination. Starts with a Bible verse, Psalm 4:27. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and ye lifted up everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. The gates represented the place in our consciousness where the divine flows into the human. The light where artists painted around the light which artists painted around the saints represents the light of heaven. Illumination or cosmic consciousness is a reality. This is what Jesus referred to when he said, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." As the dawn of illumination breaks and the shadows of evil flee, the hills of God are touched with the glow of divine rays. I wake to the thought that I am one with all of life. I lift my eyes to the sky and sing with the joy of one who beholds the eternal presence in everything. Today I lift up my consciousness to the light. I know the King of glory will come. Today I lift up my consciousness to the light, and I know the King of glory will come in. Today I keep this inner light, this candle of the Lord, trimmed and burning, for I know that the bridegroom, which is Christ, my true self, will enter my consciousness. I know that there is a divine radiance emanating from everything. I know that in this light, which emanates from the very center of everything, there is no darkness at all. In this light, I see light. Wow, that's nice. I have illumination. So as I'm saying that, or as I'm reading that, I keep thinking about the illumination card in a different deck. So let me grab that deck here quickly. It's from the Prism Oracle deck. So let's see if we can find it and just look at the imagery on it. And maybe I'll actually read from the guidebook as well, what it says from the illumination card. Okay. Bear with me here, give me 1 second. So let's find this illumination. I believe it's a yellow card. Determination. There it is. Illumination. It's pretty. Look how that yellow matches the inside of these lilies here. I always find that so interesting. It's interesting too, it ends with, in this light, I see light. And I mean, I guess that's not that crazy because illumination is, by most people, thought of light. But I mean, it's just interesting that the sun is how it's depicted here. So I have illumination. So let's read this illumination card, what it says from the guidebook. Actually, we'll start by reading about the yellow cards. How about that? Yellow. Yellow is perhaps the most polarizing of all colors. It has been associated with the sun, gold, divinity, positivity, and self-esteem. And at the same time, it correlates to illness and cowards. Yellow is connected to the solar plexus energy center. This energy center sits over the stomach, which is often thought of as a second brain, and helps control our moods and emotional needs beyond what our first brain, the one in our heads, tells us. It is also tied to the adrenal glands, which triggers the fight or flight response, resulting in anxiety. Yellow is a primary color and also a high visibility color. It is one of the colors that the human eye is most sensitive to, and as a result, is often used to signal safety or caution. So it says, if you draw yellow cards in readings, it may be a prompt to take a look at the duality of a situation. So I know we didn't draw this card, but it was just like coming to mind strongly as a result of this. So we essentially drew it. Yellow itself has many double and contradicting meanings. So how is that duality arising in your life? Are you perhaps in a single-minded state and not able to take in other perspectives? Take a moment to look at the situation from all angles and then trust what feels right to you. Okay, so here's an illumination card. Drawing this card is like turning a light on in a pitch black room. When the room is dark, it can feel unfamiliar, scary, and mysterious. However, once the lights are on, you can see and feel the truth of your situation and approach what you've illuminated with deeper knowing and ease. That's nice. So let's leave the illumination card out. And I guess I'm feeling called to move to the money and law of attraction deck, and then we'll end with doing the book Method of Divination with that book, Money Magic. Okay, messages here. Oh, there it is. Let's see what it is. It says, achieving success is my natural birthright. Card 4. You are meant to succeed, and failure should feel bad to you. Life is supposed to go well for you, and when it does not, there is something wrong. But what is wrong is not something that is outside of you, over which you have no control. What is wrong is within you, and you do have control. Taking control is not difficult. And taking control is not difficult to do once you understand the basis of who you are, the basics of law of attraction, and the value of your personal emotional guidance system. Well, isn't that interesting? Because the end of this illumination card said, like, look at all and then choose what feels best to you, right? So I really think part of what this is being said here is that, like, there, it says, like, if something is wrong, it's something, it's not outside of you. So, but what I don't think is being said is that, like, it's not like a scolding, I guess is what I'm trying to say. This is trying to get your attention about, like, your natural inheritance of good. I think so much of our culture, we've been trained away from, like, the idea that we can see ourselves as good, or that good can be natural, right? And so sometimes we get used to the idea that things are going wrong, or we start to tell ourselves a story that like, that's just life, right? Things go wrong all the time. And don't get me wrong, I do think, don't get me wrong, it's funny that I said that. But for real, don't get me wrong, I do think, like, it is wise for us to build our capacity to deal with the difficulties of life and not try to be, like, isolating ourselves, like, bypassing the difficulties and just trying to create this, like, bubble of pleasure around us, right? But at the same time, I also think it's wise for us to really contemplate whether we believe that life is supposed to feel good, or that life is supposed to chronically feel bad, right? Because if we have a belief system that ultimately life is hard and should chronically feel bad, our circumstances are going to show us that. And maybe that's part of what this illumination card / reading was telling us, is that maybe the illumination is, or what needs to be illuminated. So advice from spirit, money advice from spirit at the time you view this video, maybe what needs to be illuminated is some of these beliefs that at the root might feel like, well, I can try to be successful. I can try to, like, quote unquote, get ahead, but ... I mean, and I guess as I say that, that could be like a journaling prompt for you. That feels really powerful, actually. So, like, I want to be successful, but I could try to increase my finances, but I'd love to be abundant, but. So all these things that you want, especially when it comes to money, since this is a money reading, like, just being honest with yourself about what you want. That's, like, the first part of the journal prompt. And then the second part is just but ... And then you just can, like, get out all the thoughts you have. So just be as honest as possible. You don't have to share it with anybody, but you can get out all the thoughts you have that feel like want to follow that but, right? So then you can illuminate what's going on in your mind, what you actually think about how life should go, what you actually think about freedom and ease and abundance. And then you can process and know what to do with it. So if this is resonating, I really encourage you to do some of it, and maybe just do it once, but you could also do it multiple times and kind of just shift the prompt a little bit just to see what comes out. Because even the act of just like getting it out on paper is such a beautiful act of bringing the unconscious to the conscious. So even if you don't know what to do about it in terms of like, well, I believe this, how do I shift it? Like sometimes all we have to do is pull it up from the unconscious to the conscious so that we recognize, we illuminate that we believe it. And you could even start with this. You could say, achieving success is my natural birthright, but ... So like what's in the way in your belief system of believing that? I think that's what needs to be illuminated in order to remove some blocks, in order to remove what is currently blocking more abundance from flowing into your life. So take a breath, see if that resonates. And then let's do the book method of divination here. Oh, interesting. Unprocessed grief. So from this book called Money Magic. So I said interesting because like unprocessed grief. Wow, clog your system. So that's like exactly what we were talking about, right? Like just what's in the way of what is, it should be natural. Like, so success and abundance and health ultimately is, right? And then we can have blocks to these things, right? And what is blocking it is usually unprocessed stuff. So it's just weird that like that comes up because what was the advice that just came through was to process. So like to do some journaling around these things, to bring some things to consciousness. So it seems to be actually a very cohesive message throughout here, that what the advice from Spirit is to do whatever you can to process your beliefs, to process situations that feel difficult and uncomfortable, to process feelings that feel difficult and uncomfortable, with safe people and in safe environments, right? So you don't have to tell anybody this if you don't have people who you feel safe talking with it about, like emotionally safe. But if you do have some of those people, like however you can process safely is going to be huge to removing some of these blocks. So let's read this section. It says, unprocessed grief. Unhealed grief clogs your system and leaves you stagnant and suffering. Loss and disappointment are often intertwined with negative, impactful financial experiences. We may need to make space to grieve the material care we should have received as a child but didn't get. We may need to grieve the impact of violence on our ancestral financial lineage. We may need to grieve a moment in our life when we lost someone who supported us both emotionally and materially. We may need to grieve the loss of stability, a career, or an opportunity, such as a scholarship or an important client. Going deep and fully experiencing our sadness and disappointment is essential work. Like that's hard to hear, isn't it, sometimes? But it's true. Going deep, fully experiencing our sadness and disappointment is essential work. And again, the only way to move past a feeling is to fully experience it. You can't bypass your healing process. Wow. That's like what the illumination card is saying, right? You can't bypass, but you can look, right? And you can feel. You can't bypass your healing process. You have to get deeply sad so that you aren't haunted by constant low-level sadness. You have to let go of the thing you lost. My quick and dirty recipe for processing grief is this. Carve out a substantial piece of time, a whole day or several hours at least. It helps to make space somewhat regularly or more than once. Divide your time into 4 equal parts and spend 1 on each of the following steps. 1, fully feeling the loss. 2, releasing and letting go. 3, comforting yourself or being comforted. And 4, resting from your hard work. This may look like spending an hour remembering the thing you lost and thinking about the hurt you experienced, then an hour writing about your feelings and burning the paper, and then an hour wrapped in a big cozy blanket, speaking gently in an affirming way to yourself, and then an hour watching TV or sleeping. And as always, don't forget to breathe, hydrate, and eat snacks. Wow, that's so good, isn't it? So, wow, what a powerful reading. I know it's not necessarily easy things to hear. So I just want to acknowledge that. But also, if you're at this point, you're tuning in, you've listened to this point, you're clearly a very willing being who I think by hearing this could really unlock a lot more peace, joy, ease, freedom, and literally money in your life by this willingness to illuminate, process, and go deep. So I think it's very common in our culture to make money not related to grief. Do you know what I mean? I mean, like most people in the conventional world wouldn't even associate money with grief or emotions, right? And then if you go to the more spiritual world, the more woo-woo world, so to speak, a lot of times the way that manifesting money can be promoted is with the more of the bypassing sort of energy. And so I believe that this reading is a call to look at money and your experience of money and your relationship with money entirely differently. So it's not going to come through more spiritual bypassing, and it's also not going to come by not recognizing and by it come, I guess what I'm saying is maybe you need more money, or you're just worried about money, you have enough but you're worried, or you're looking for more sustainability or more just like true freedom, longer term security, a feeling of longer term security. So whatever by it may come, that's what I'm saying. Whatever you feel like is lacking in your experience of money or your relationship with money. But what I was going to say too is it can't come in the very like conventional sense either. Like if you're worried about money, you're chronically worried about money, having more of it isn't likely going to ease that. Now, don't get me wrong, if you truly don't have enough, getting to a place where you have enough is going to be helpful with that. But hopefully you understand what I mean in terms of just like chronic worry and thinking it'll change just by changing things in the physical and changing things with the numbers in your bank accounts and investments. Like that doesn't shift the relationship with money. What shifts it is our emotional labor. And I think that is what is being called to reflect on in this reading is where are unprocessed experiences and emotions getting in the way of you feeling more secure, feeling safer, feeling more free, and attracting what is yours to attracting more beauty and abundance. So it's looking at what's blocking it, kind of paradoxically, like flipping on the light, remember, and seeing clearly, so that those blocks can be processed consciously in order to move forward. Because it's like, as much as it's not fun to process blocks, it also, like she was alluding to in this book, like it's also not fun to live with low level sadness. You know what I mean? So it's not fun to go and fully feel our grief. I hear you. I hate it too. And it's also not fun to be just like chronically low level sad or anxious, right? And so when we're willing to kind of go towards those things that are unprocessed with the support that we need, with the things that we need as much as possible, then they don't have to just like they don't have to do their dirty work in the dark. Do you know what I mean? Then we turn on the light. Oh my God, like we literally turn on the light, we see them, and we do what needs to be done to do the healing for ourselves. And so I think this is a call to really notice how emotions and energy and how they are related to money. Do you know what I mean? Of course, in conventional wisdom, that isn't talked about. In more woo-woo ways of seeing it, it's a lot of spiritual bypassing. And again, this is just a entirely different way of seeing it. It's a more like emotionally mature, but also holistic way of seeing it. How we process emotions really is related to how our experience of money, because money is an energy, right? It's also an exchange of energy, which is powerful, right? And so money has us look at how we're willing to exchange energy. So a lot of times, along with just emotional processing, it also brings up relationship, how we are in relationship with other people, because in relationship with other people, we're also exchanging energy. And so when there's blocks in money, whether that means the money stops or there's just like worry, things like that, fixation, that can give us information about how we've learned to exchange energy. And looking at our relationships can be one way to heal that. Looking at how we were harmed in relationships can be one way to heal that. So going deep with the healing illuminating the dark spots seems to be your advice from spirit. And again, I just want to like, it's not fun advice to hear, but it's also powerful. Do you know what I mean? And also like spirit, I believe, always meets you where you're at. So if spirit is ready to give you this advice, that means you like, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Because if somebody's not ready for this advice, then spirit is like baby stepping your way there. But this is kind of like root level advice. Meaning like if you can kind of do this, you can shift your foundation so that you forevermore have an entirely different experience with money and exchange and things of that nature. And so, although it's like not always easy to hear, I'm like kind of excited to offer the invitation to you, because I think it means you're much stronger than you think and you're ready for this. And that's so exciting because that you're not dealing with the superficial layers of the issue. You're getting spirit's like, basically, what's the advice from spirit? You're ready to look at the root cause of these issues. And then when we're ready to look at the root cause, like things really change. So I wish you a lot of care and kindness in your processing. I am excited for you and happy to deliver this message, but truly take care of yourself in the process of processing some of these unprocessed things. And I would really recommend what she recommended, the Money Witch, like doing the 4-part series. So when you are doing heavy level processing, you're also including the comfort and rest in the process of processing. So take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and I'm excited for you.